How you doing, Russell?
Well,
You there, mate?
you there?
Yeah, the only thing is that the screen looks a bit different, but not to worry, mate. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Can you hear me?
Yes, pal.
How are you?
I'm all right. Just had some of my mum's shepherd's pie. Me and Kelsey have. I can't move, mate. I just feel like I'm gonna burst.
Bring back good times.
Yeah, she. When I've got the kids and that, like every other week, she'll say, "Look, I'm going to send you and Kelsey some tea up." I don't know if she
Oh,
thinks I'm not eating. I'm not exactly skinny. Obviously, I do my own cooking and that. And she's like, I'll send you some tea up, call in for your tea. So we've just had half a shepherd's pie each, mate. It were nice, but like I said, I can't breathe.
yeah. Well, you can't let your mum go on and not eat it, Julian, can you?
No, not at all, mate. I'm off on holiday in 2 weeks and I'm thinking, need to get a little bit of timber off. But my mum's like, here's some shepherd's pie. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot been going on, Julian, in the sport of boxing. Uh, it's
There's a
taking
lot
like
goes
a
on.
change, isn't it? It's going through a change with media and the drafting new punters in, and it looks like the old guard are on the back foot, doesn't it?
I mean, I've nothing against change as long as change is for the better. I think that goes with anything. Generally, people don't like change and people are inherently selfish. That's two truisms about people. But ultimately, if change is for the better and we get great fights and we get great pundits and experts, I'm all right with that. I'd like to see the boxing board controlled. I'd like to see some big changes there. I'd like to see some young, ambitious promoters coming through. I'm not talking Ben Shalom, who's going to challenge Eddie and challenge Fury, Frank, and just challenge the status quo and turn the whole sport upside down. But that's probably asking for a little bit much.
Yeah. Uh, did you see the guard? Obviously, he got his potted, didn't he? Did you see him get brick top on straight away? Uh,
Sounds like it sounds like you might have had an impact on the guard. I mean, ultimately, right? People think it's trolling or it's this or it's personal. It's nothing to do with that, is it?
I told him I was going to send it. I don't hide behind the keyboard, do I?
You don't hide behind the keyboard, but what are you actually saying to him? You're saying, listen, you, Gareth A. Davis, are a very influential journalist, right? We know that. Second of all, we know Gareth A. Davis knows his boxing, but we give him a bit of stick. He knows his boxing, he knows how the sport works. But what is his job as a journalist? His job is to be impartial,
Yeah.
present us the right information, and to cut through all the fat and all the trimmings, be objective, and to get to the truth. That's all journalists ultimately. That's what they do. They're
Yeah, but
investigating.
what we're missing here, and what everybody's missing, they keep going on about this journalistic thing. They're forgetting that people like the Gad, Johnny Nelson, and people like that, they pick up gigs around boxing to do MC work and things like that, so they're everybody's mate. And this is wrong. This is where they're going wrong. They're looking to earn a few quid because all boxers are from the streets, aren't they? They're always looking to get a few quid, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they can't do the job in the media because they don't want to upset so and so and so and so. That's where they're all going wrong. I'm not saying none of them know the box. Some of the tribe Horsecock's come out with in the last 15 years on Sky is unbelievable. But he's kept his nose in the trough, hasn't he? But it's just a tripe he comes out with and he knows he's boxing, but they have to play devil's advocate, whatever, don't they?
Yeah, he's got to be a little bit outspoken at times, but I think he'll go back to his usual Queensbury loving self pretty soon. But look, what I'm not going to do, right? You said to me, have you seen the Gad? He's putting it on Frank a little bit. I'm not going to give him a high five for doing his job. That's his job. That's what he's supposed to do, right? He's been lucky enough to make his money
Like
out of.
Adam Cattrall
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
Nick Pete and that Nick Pete.
Just do your job. Do your job. Be fair. Be honest with people. Be consistent. Nobody's saying you can't get on with the people you interview, and no one's saying that you have to be alienate yourself. No one's saying that whatsoever. but just let's have a bit of objectivity. But what we don't want you doing, Gareth A. Davis and everybody else and the rest of you, don't insult the people who pay your wages. And if you say you don't pay my wages, now listen, sports fans pay your wages, pal. You won't get views. The sport wouldn't happen if it weren't for fans and it wasn't for people who love boxing, football, MMA, whatever sports the GAD is covering. We pay your wages, so we're right to expect you to be objective and not this sycophantic drivel and this sucking up to Tyson Fury like he's been doing in the last few years. It's embarrassing. It's cringeworthy. It was the same with David Hay years ago. You know, he always has his favorites and the people give him access. He loves them forever. And I prefer someone just to be a little bit more direct and a little bit honest. You know, I'll give you an example, right? If you look at, it wasn't love, but if you look at Howard Cosell and Don Dunphy and those guys, but Howard Cosell especially had a good relationship with Muhammad Ali. But it was very outspoken when it came to Ali. He didn't fawn over Ali. He would be quite outspoken, and at times they fell out. The relationship worked because it was a bit, you know, puts and takes and stuff. But Cosell, his relationship worked with Ali, but he didn't always call the fights like these guys do now. Like, you know, you can watch Tyson Fury against Derek Chisora, and you'd think you were watching a masterclass, wouldn't you, to listen to these guys afterwards? You'd think the Dillian White fight was a boxing 101, just to listen to them instead of just calling it for what it is. Whereas Howard Cosell used to just say, this is not a great challenger. This is a one-sided fight. The referee needs to stop it. Why is Muhammad Ali fighting this guy or that guy? And that's all we want, mate. We don't want people to con us. We don't want people to laugh at us and think we're stupid. And be objective, do your job. Won't give you credit for doing your job, Gareth A. Davis, but we won't give you stick either.
Yeah, and another thing, Gad, there's only one hardcore, and that's me. I know you referred to me, Gad, and you may be getting carried away with your potty, but make sure next time you have brick top on that you sit on it, because it'll save you money with your nappy bill.
This is what you always say, though, every time you're on, Russell, especially like when you do your own videos, when you're on your own, and you go in your rants, and you say the same thing every time. You say, these are grown men. These are grown men behaving like this. It's embarrassing.
Could you imagine Peter Fury behaving like that around boxing people? Could you imagine that? Or Jimmy Tibbs?
Wouldn't sell the soul, would they? They just wouldn't sell the soul. They'll just be themselves. And if they didn't get on, they'd just say, oh, fair enough, I'll do something else. But you gotta, you know, I mean, you gotta, what do we say, every single time, you gotta like what you see in the mirror, mate. But some people, absolutely, but some people prefer the dollar, don't they? They just say, listen, I don't care. I've got access, Porky. You don't have. I've got access.
Well, I don't want access. I can do damage from here.
You're doing your own thing, aren't you, ultimately? And you're doing what you want to do, and you've got a following for doing that. And these guys, I guess, are doing what they want to do. But do you know what the one truth is, right? The one truth, and I don't care what you say. You know, I've been in the game a long time. I'm no longer involved in boxing, but ex-amateur boxer. I was around Keith Tate, who was very well known in the Yorkshire area. Definitely, he was well known nationally. Obviously, I was been in professional boxing. I've trained some good kids. What am I saying this for? I've been to the Sky shows, BT shows, etc., etc. I've been around it. And I know what people say about these guys. They'll say, he's a right tosser. Him. Oh, God, look who's here again. I know what the boxing community think about these guys, but, you know what I mean? It's just, they just...
Oh, you know, Ed Robinson, they don't say that about Ed. They say Ed Mustard, he's a very neutral, proper journal.
Good guys, Ed Robinson came to Dewsbury twice to do a little... Dewsbury and Batley twice to do little features on Sykes. I think before the Morris fight and the O'Hara fight, Ed Robinson, really good guy. Really, not just saying that because you've said it. Spoke to Ed Robinson, used to exchange a bit of chat with him, a couple of texts in the day. Good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a bit let down with Gad. But listen, Gad, take your sunglasses off, look in the mirror for 60 seconds, just stare at yourself and ask yourself this, Gad. Am I a licker or am I a journo? What am I? There you
Yeah.
go. Right, we'll move on from the Gad then.
Move on from the
Uh,
girl.
Is Conor Benn banned? We did a video, didn't we? We've done a couple like that, and it seems to be that everybody and the dad's jumping on bandwagon. I'm not going to give him any names, any names there, but I ain't got a problem with it. You have to go with your own instincts and what you think's going to happen because it's like a crystal ball job. So you've got to study it. You know what I mean? But I like to put stuff on. If people want to jump on my back, good luck to them.
Well, first of all, imitation's the best form of flattery. That is so true. So if people are imitating you and they're following you, and anybody out there who says what you're alluding to and being mysterious about and who's following Porky's Corner and some of the conversations that's had on Porky's Corner, I'm telling you for a fact that there are people out there, people with big followings, big social media followings, and there's a couple in particular, and Russell won't give them the satisfaction or even the controversy of calling the names up for a change, will we, mate? We'll leave it as it
Oh,
is. But
oh.
we know we've seen patterns, and there are some people copying the content of this channel and the narrative and some of the listings that they're doing about certain videos they've made in the last few days and the last few weeks. We've been watching them, we've been tracking them, and it's embarrassing how literally they're just picking up your content and just adding their own style to it and getting views from it. But you're doing something right, aren't you? When people,
What's I
when big, we've just mentioned the Gad. So when the Gad's turning up the volume and being a little bit tougher on Warren, no doubt having seen what's going on your channel, and then there's a couple of other guys who we keep tracks on who are effectively just picking up your content and dressing it up. You're doing something right, mate. So you're doing well, mate.
Listen,
You're doing well.
when promoters are ringing me up and asking me, why do you reckon that? And then I explain it. And they're ringing me back again and saying, can you just explain that to this person and not promoters from around here? And I'm thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I said, don't you watch the internet? Well, we don't have time, Russell. You know what I mean? Listen, I don't get everything right, but sometimes you just got to see through it and think, what on earth? It's like this in Ghana. I think, look, we're 3 months away from this. Tyson Fury don't know what he's doing next week.
I'm not convinced that fight's going to
He
happen.
wanted driving around in a Passat. He's like, I drive a Passat and me, I'm just a normal bloke. He's just took delivery of a 350 grand Porsche, hasn't he?
It's a good story running around in a Passat and a little mini and an old banger and saying I'm a man of the people. It's a great story, but ultimately,
Ricky
you've earned,
Hatton did it, didn't he, with Del Boy?
yeah, you've earned, yeah, probably parked up in his drive, never got driven, but you're allowed to do what you want. You're taking the shots, you're taking the risks, you've earned the money. You can live as vulgar, and I mean vulgar in a positive sense. You can live as vulgar and as ostentatious as you want.
Hey, we
Just
love vulgar over here.
Well, exactly. Just don't make out you're a man of the people and you'll have a pint with a guy down the road. And, you like going to the corner shop and to the chippy because it's all for the cameras, it's all for footage and it's all for views because ultimately you're all about money and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Saudi money, has it affected sport? Has it
Well,
shut them all up for
everybody's getting carried away. Everybody's getting dressed up as these billionaire princes.
Who's who? I mean, all these fake sheiks. It's I mean,
You know what, right? People tell you stuff like it's an exclusive, and they'll say, "Load of money out the Saudis." Oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do that. Everybody said the same thing, about Atlantic City back in the day that they were going to go massive on boxing, and then it shifted and it shifts and it shifts. But listen, the Saudis have put some shows on. They've put some big fights on, but they haven't put the last 4 or 5, 6 years since they've stepped their foot into boxing. They haven't done the massive fights. The people might say, "Oh, Ruiz and Joshua rematch was a massive fight." No, it wasn't. I'm talking about they haven't done the unifications for a start, have they? So when's that coming? Is that coming in December? No, it's not. They're all talking about December. Conor Ben, we're going to fight in June 3rd, June 17th in Saudi. Saudi money's there. Never mind about the license. Never mind about the border control. Saudi money's there. Well, it wasn't there, was it? So let's see what happens. Clearly, they are absolutely filthy rich over there. There's no issue about that whatsoever. But they'll only put on what they want to put on. And are we going to just make it now a sport for the rich, exclusive people? So fans who will go to the O2 or they go down to Wembley and they jump on a coach, they jump on the rail. Is it now become just an exclusive sport where only these super rich people who can afford to go to Saudi will go over and watch sport? Yeah, that might happen for a while, but it'll only happen for a short term. And the one thing I've consistently said, Russell, about the Saudi boxing, there's absolutely zero atmosphere at these cards. It's the culture is, there's nothing more crazy than a New York crowd, is there, or a Manchester crowd when there's a big fight on there. It's tangible, the atmosphere that's going on. But if you watch some of the Saudi fights, there's no atmosphere because you got a bunch of rich people and middle-class people who have travelled over there to watch these fights. And they generally don't get that excited and they stay very, very calm. And, when Tokyo stage big fights and the Mike Tyson fights, you get a little bit of a round of applause and that's all you get. And that's no good as a spectator sport. As you're watching the sport on your TV. You want the crowd interaction, you want the atmosphere, you want the noise, you want the buzz. You don't get that in Saudi. You just don't get that with the crowd. It's a very quiet, appreciative crowd, as I've said, with a few middle-class people who've flown over. And I don't look forward to it. I don't like the boxing over there. It doesn't come across well when you're watching it. And that's just my point of view. I'd rather watch a local fight, a local show, when the crowd are going absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
But the money's there, and it'll probably last for 2 or 3 years. They'll do some big fights, but very, very quickly. All we've heard about this year is Saudi money. Okay, Saudi money, Saudi money, Saudi money, taking over sport, F1, blah 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 blah. Well, the biggest fights we've seen this year. Okay, so we've got Spence and Crawford, we've had Tank, we've had Garcia, we've had Lomachenko and Haney. We've had all those fights, and they've all been in America, mate. Every single one of them.
Now you today.
Yep. I'm only 3 rounds into that fight at the moment, but
Dave Allen announcement. It's dragging on now. He's out at ring 5 month. What's going on here? Dave Allen and it's big freeze, or is that just bollocks?
I heard a couple of bits about it, and I heard a couple of bits from you, but this goes right back to the sort of the last couple of years. You and I've probably done 100 videos with you now. I remember the first one and saying to you that 90% of the content, unfortunately, is about things that won't happen, and only 10% of the content's about things that do happen. And I think that's because it's just talk. It's just talk. Sign the contract. If Dave Allen's going to fight whoever, Big Fraser or Chisora or whoever, sign a contract. Let's have a date. Let's have a venue. Let's see some tickets on sale, and then we'll believe it. Because right now, it's what I've always called name association. Name associate up. Thinking about doing this, I've got something bubbling. Shouldn't really tell you, but between me and you, we're looking at this, we're looking at that, and it's just nonsense. It's all nonsense.
Yeah. No, they've seen something. I think that'd be a good fight for our guy. Didn't you say they're in talk? Yeah, they're talking with a fucking wife.
Talking with a wine, yeah, they're never in the gym, are they? You don't see him go quiet and then 3-4 weeks later see some serious training footage and say, he's on it, he's on it. I did see something, well, this is not knocking Dave Allen, he's a likeable lad, but I saw something with Dave Allen a few weeks ago, and someone said, oh, he's staying sharp. And he was a southpaw, bizarrely, and he was just tickling the bag, southpaw, and I mean tickling the bag. Well, I trained last night. I trained on Sunday, and I'm out of shape, 52, with arthritis. And I actually got a sweat on when I was hitting the bag. I was cracking the bag like I do in my own style. Dave Allen was tickling the bag. I'm like, you're not training. You just got someone to film you. You put some gloves on for 30 seconds. You've got someone to film you hitting a bag, and then you've just put it out on social media for views. Train or don't.
Bit like Max, he got into that routine, didn't he?
Everybody, listen, right? Everybody talks about what they might do, could do, gonna do, should do, would do, thinking about doing. Whatever happened to people just training, walking past you in the street? You say, "Oh, you're looking well. What are you up to?" "Oh, yeah, I got a fight in a couple of weeks' time." Remember those days when people used to just train under the cover of darkness and you could physically see the change in them. The cheekbones would come out and you just knew they were healthy and glowing. But now we live in a social media world where everybody puts posts on and posters on about this fight, that fight, that fight, that fight, and nobody fights. And it's embarrassing, isn't it? It's embarrassing. Come on, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just want to see fights. I don't want to see all this social media nonsense. Just get in the gym and get a sweat on. Jeez.
Yeah. It's just, I always said this before, and I go about Gary Sykes, he's off again. I always kept him busy, Even when he had his British title, we had a non-title fight, Huddersfield Sports Centre, 600 quid, some money for him, some hit money, 600 quid. And then when he got mandated, the first time he got mandated against when he beat Crawler, and then he was mandatory for British, still put him out twice more, before he fought for the British title. 8-rounder, 6-rounder on Sky. And then when he got mandated for the second time before he regained his belt, same thing again. Rung Mark Bateson up. "Mark, have you got any slots on your show? I want to put Sykes out again." Yeah, sound. Put him out. Bit overweight. Not his best, 78%. Got him just a tick over job. Keep fighters busy. But they don't do that now. It's very, very rarely now do you get any fighters with any kind of consistency. Unless he's been injured, but I liked Adam Azim. I thought, we've got Adam Azim now. He would seem to be fighting every couple of months, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he's just fallen into that exact same trap as everybody else. Once a year, 2 times a year, 3 times a year. And it's like, it's not enough. You got to stay sharp. You got to stay in the gym. You got to stay sharp and you got to fight regular. And listen, you only have to look at fighters' records, from back in the day. Look at how many fights they had. Whereas now, 11 fights, 12 fights, you're ready for a British title fight. 18 fights, you're ready for a world title fight. And then if you do happen to win a British title or a world title, I mean, you're lucky if you box twice a year. That's not a career, mate. That is not a career.
No. Spence Crawford's coming up. Who do you think, which version of Kell Brook was the best version for Spence and Crawford? Which do you think?
Not a question or something I've really thought about too much. I mean, I think when Spence beat Brook, clearly he'd come off a hiding, hadn't he? Golovkin, he looked like he took his soul that night, didn't he? As well as smashed his face to pieces, by the way. But then you got when
Crawford.
Yeah, then when he fought Crawford, Kell Brook, he was really shot to bits. He absolutely was shot to bits, and obviously it had more damage to the eyes.
Both eyes, wasn't it?
Yeah, he got both damage to both eyes.
Golovkin do one and Spence did other, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So his orbital bones were gone.
He spilled his guts for Eddie Hills, didn't he?
And the thing what always gets me when I think about the Crawford Kell Brook fight was the shot that Crawford did him with. It was all right. The timing was decent, but it wasn't a massively heavy shot.
Yeah, they'd have ran over him 10 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. There was just something about the shot. It was like, that's when your legs go, when you just get caught with a little shot like that and your legs dramatically go. Inactivity, age, the whole thing. So I think he wasn't shot when he fought Spence, wasn't Brook. It was damaged. It had a hiding, but it wasn't shot. I think when he fought Crawford, I think he was shot to pieces. And even though he beat Amir Khan, he was just less shot than Amir Khan. But that's a brilliant fight, though, isn't it? That's no issue whatsoever this weekend paying for that fight. It's on, what's it called now? They call it something else, TNT or something, on the former BT Sports.
Yeah.
No issue whatsoever paying for that fight. I'll be paying for that and I'll be staying up for it as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a brilliant fight. It might not be the most exciting fight in the world, but tactically and technically, it's going to be incredible. And I've loved the build-up. I've seen the first two, you know, pre-show, the half an hour series that they do. I've watched how they're both gentlemen. There's no pathetic child. You get a few little things in social media, but there's no throat-slitting gestures. There's none of this rubbish. They both respect each other. They're both consummate professionals. They're both going to be in absolute serious shape. I think I worry about Spence making the weight. Still, you know, I don't know if I think he's going to struggle, obviously, to make the weight more than Crawford. But I think it all depends on if Spence does the weight right. I think there's quite a few. The odds are close-ish, but there's a lot of people who I've spoken to are writing Spence off, and I don't write him off at all.
I've got him as my guy to win, Spence.
It wouldn't surprise me. And he's if that's why I say if he does the weight right, because he's absolutely massive, isn't he, Spence, in that
He's
ring?
the bigger man, isn't he? Right. He's
Well,
he's the fresher
bigger.
man as well. He's a fresher man as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's bigger, he's fresher. Yeah, he's had less
Never
fights.
been really in trouble, has he? Mickey Prance gave him trouble, Crawford, didn't he?
Yeah, he's just such a good fighter. Honestly, they're both brilliant fighters. You've got Crawford who will spend 80% of that fight southpaw. You've got Spence who is a southpaw, and I just wonder if Spence might be if he does the weight right. I keep saying that because you win and lose titles on the scales. It might, for me, just pull away in the last 3 or 4 rounds and win an absolute squeaker by that much, Spence. But there's not a lot between these two. There really isn't. I think I'll always go with the naturally bigger man when the skill levels are so equal. I'll always go with the naturally bigger man.
Do you think that, I know you, Usyk, Batavia, Crawford, Spence, Gervonta Davis, do you think them 6 are like way ahead now?
I'll tell you what, we always think about it from a British point of view, don't we? For the featherweights,
where's our Britain that it mixed with them? And we're at Brits. Where are we?
Nowhere. And I'll tell you what, if Inoue moves up to featherweight, I think the featherweights we've got need to be a little bit careful, don't they? You wouldn't get. He can do another £4 easily. I've just watched the first 3 rounds. His footwork,
scary, isn't it?
Frightening. His
Might
footwork.
be a featherweight in there tonight.
Yeah, it is lightning. His power, his speed, his in-out
step. Done it.
He's absolutely brilliant, mate. He really is brilliant.
And I went out for dinner with Quiggy, right? And a bit ago, about a couple of months ago, me, Quiggy. What did Quiggy there? There you go. I think Joe G. They were saying he glides across the ring. Him and Quig were stood watching him at this warm-up fight week or something, and they said he was gliding that ring.
His power and his balance.
He's like already just to set it. He don't have to move to let go, does he? With hands, he's already his feet are set, aren't they?
He's fantastic. His feet and his heels, because you know, that was no pushover for him today.
No.
That was no.
Sheer power won him that, didn't it?
You could see it when they were in the middle of the ring and they were doing the face-off. You could see Fulton was the bigger man. It was physically, he was bigger. But Inoue is just, I love everything about him is brilliant. His balance is so good. His reflexes are so good. But it's almost like that. He's patient, but there's something about him that, remember Roberto Duran when Duran, obviously, we were kids when Duran was a lightweight, but we've all seen the videos in the day. So anyone who watches Duran, forget Duran at, welterweight, obviously all the way up to super middleweight. Roberto Duran at lightweight was frightening, wasn't he? It was like 72-1. It was a brutal, brutal puncher. He'd avenged his only defeat to Esteban Diaz's. But Roberto Duran had such brilliant balance and brilliant feet. And he was a massive, massive puncher at lightweight. And Inoue just reminds me of, I'm not saying stylistically he's the same as Duran. I'm saying he's
a dirty fighter, Duran, though, at lightweight, wasn't he?
Very dirty, but I guess it was that was his style. It was brilliant technically as well. It was phenomenal technically. It was physically
Right,
very.
you know when he fought at lightweight, Duran, wasn't he like 70 something and one or something at one
Yeah, it
point?
was 71 and 1 or 72 and 1. And he defended the belt for seven, eight
Who beat him
years.
then?
Esteban Diaz beat him, but then Duran beat Diaz twice. They fought each other three times. You know, in the day when fighters actually got
Oh,
beaten, they'd go straight back in with each other.
but there
And
were no rematches. The fans decided if there were rematch, didn't they?
yeah, they fought each other three times, and Esteban Diaz has dropped Duran twice in the first and second fight with some nasty left hooks and just brilliant fighters. But Inoue has got, for me, he's got that mentality. He's got that mentality which is like, I'm going to hit you, but I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to have my way with you. You know, you can trade with me, you can come at me, you can be slippery and slide, but you're going to get it. And there's just something about that mentality that if he does move up to featherweight, he might end up doing that. You know, I don't think there's. I think he'd have such an easy time at featherweight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd destroy the Lee Woods and Warringtons.
Could you imagine Josh Warrington against I know you?
See, that's not and that, by the way, I'm not being. I mean, he's moved up several weight divisions. I'm not being critical of our guys, the tough, good fighters, the world class fighters. But that's a different level. That's an elite fighter. That's a great fighter, an absolute
That's a
great
Ray Leonard,
fighter.
isn't it?
He's brilliant, mate. He's got to be. I mean, who's going to beat him? Who's going to beat him? He's gliding through the weight
Oh,
divisions.
weight divisions already, and he's only just turned 30.
He's a wrecking machine. He's an absolute wrecking
The
machine.
monster.
The only thing that'll beat Inoue is literally is when fighters just get a bit old and maybe he'll move up and move up and move up, and eventually that power and those reflexes won't quite work. But let's just say if he gets to 130 pound or something like that, it might not work. But at the moment, he's a wrecking machine. I mean, if Inoue were to fight Lee Wood, it'd be savage. It'd be absolutely
Even Naz
savage.
had been a good fight, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Nazim Hamad. Now that was a. He always gets the hard rub, does Naz, doesn't it? Whenever people talk about Naz, they always say, first good fighter he came up against, he got beat. I mean, it's just nonsense, isn't it? But people do say that about Naz.
Yeah, I
He was a
agree.
good fight. He was a good fighter, was Naz. He was a massive puncher, massive.
Yeah. What's happened to Calla, Montana?
I can't take him. Listen, I'm like a stuck record. I can't take him seriously for the misfit shows and all that nonsense. I can't take him seriously, but I can never forgive the fact that he was going to put his fighter in at 157 pound weight drained skeletal. I say it all the time against a guy who he knew had failed a drugs test. What? Wow! I mean, if your son, if Reggie or Kelsey or Joe, one of our boys, went into boxing, would you want him looking after your son?
No, would I, Ekman? No.
That's it, isn't it? He's like if I had a son who was a child prodigy, and it was those guys wanted to sign him, not a chance,
You
mate.
think that's cost Calla and Eddie the very similar cost they've been fetched up in privilege?
Well, they've been fetched up in privilege. They've probably never taken a shot in their life, and they just people are just they're just cash machines, aren't they? You know, you look at all these guys, and they're just in and out, in with a new one, out with the old, in with the new, out with the old, and it's just a carousel and a meat market of boxers. And this is why they try and make out they're doing the best for the fighters. No, they're not. They're doing the best for themselves. If you're doing your best for your fighter, you wouldn't have had him in at 157 pound.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
I agree. I agree. Bricktop. Well, he's spitting fire this week, isn't he?
He's just so angry all the time.
Saudi, Stubhub, events. He were all against it. Now he wants to put events on Stubhub and Saudi.
Do you know what I think with Warren? What his biggest problem is at the moment is he knows he's going against his nature and he's going against how he's always been his own man and he knows he's just become an
One of
apology.
them, he's just become one of them now, hasn't he? He's become
Yeah,
a thing, hasn't
he's become an apologist and a lapdog for Tyson Fury, and he can't control Tyson, and he knows that, and he knows it's looking so bad that when you watch him, if you look at his body language, I mean, he's never been smiley, has he, Frank? But if you watch his body language, he's so angry and so hostile, and he looks like, even when he was with the Gad the other night, he looks like he wants to kill somebody when he's talking. He's just so angry all the
That
time.
shirt, he looks like Al Pacino in Scarface with that shirt down, all face tensed up. Did you see his shoulder roll? Oh,
Oh yeah,
shoulder roll were performing, wasn't it? I was doing cartwheels here, mate. Oh my
he
God.
needs to have his blood sugar tested, mate, or his blood pressure does Frank, because he looks
Looks
so.
like he's been put through mincer, doesn't he?
He looks like heart attack candidate. Do you know what? If being famous and being rich makes you that unhappy, it's not worth it, really, is it?
No, it ain't. It's worrying for Bricktop at the moment, his health.
I think he looks absolutely shocking, and I've always kind of liked Frank. I think I've always thought him quite funny. I heard him call Tyson a prick, Mike Tyson, which is quite funny.
Yeah, I mean, he's going for him these days, isn't he, Bricktop?
Yeah, because Tyson was just a prick, which I think he was, by the way. So Frank Warren was right there. But you were happy to work with that prick when you were earning millions against absolute mugs. Those UK shows were terrible.
Yeah. Oh, what he put him in with Julius Francis, didn't he?
Julius Francis and Savarese, oh God, it was like a Joe Lewis's Bum of the Month campaign. It was terrible.
You want to go into part two, pal?
Let's do it, mate.